Okay, there we go. Well, hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel, Savvy Florida Agent. So I want to talk to you today about something that's really quite important, and well, it's about money. It's always about money, but this is more. This is bigger than just our money, right? So I'm here to talk to you about bricks. Bricks? What do you mean bricks? Bricks build a house? Yeah, well, bricks pave a road. Bricks pave a driveway, right? Not those kind of bricks. Okay? Yeah. So, what is BRICS? And why does it matter? Hmm, those are big questions. And it matters a lot. Okay, so first of all, let's establish what BRICS is. Okay? It's a foundation. BRICS is an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Yeah, right? It's an acronym. BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. A coalition of emerging economies that have joined forces to reshape the global financial system. Individually, these nations have significant economic influence. But together, they represent, listen to this, together they represent 40% of the world's population. That's nearly half of humanity under the BRICS umbrella. Remember, BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They also represent 25% of the global GDP. These nations are economic powerhouses with growing global influence. And that matters. And they are global trade leaders. They're involved in some of the most crucial industries, from manufacturing to agriculture and energy. So, why was BRICS formed? Well, listen to this. The primary goal of BRICS is to create a more balanced and equitable global financial system. Historically, Western powers like the United States and European Union have dominated global trade, finance, and institutions such as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. BRICS nations seek to challenge this dominance and give developing economies a stronger voice in global affairs. Yeah, so it was created to create balance. Yes. And with that, it's going to change the economy. Well, I mean, there's so many things to it. I mean, we are no longer a U.S. Economy. It is a worldwide economy, and that international economy, boy, that brings its own implications. So, the primary purpose of BRICS forming with Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa was to help balance world and financial balances. Mm, yes. So BRICS is more than just alliance of countries. It's a movement that could change how money flows, how trade happens, and even how wealth is distributed globally. These changes will trickle down to impact everything from the value of your investments to the cost of goods and services. That's a tremendous impact. Again, when we are no longer a U.S. economy, we are a global and international economy. And I'm in the U.S. and talking about BRICS and how that impacts our finances. And welcome, welcome. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. So glad to see you. Yep. Vast ocean behind me. So here's a practical takeaway, right? Keep an eye on BRICS in the news. Major policy announcements and trade deals involving these nations could signal shifts in the global economy. Here in the US, everything has changed. We used to be a heavy manufacturing industry many, many years ago, and that shifted. Back in the 90s, it went to a global economy, more international economy with manufacturing and labor jobs moving in third world countries. And so, yeah, this is another aspect that is going to impact how our economies um, scale turn and how money changes. So, if you're an investor, look for funds or ETFs that focus on BRICS economies. They are likely to see growth in the coming years. Mhm. Yeah. And so, even if you look in your investment portfolios and the places in which you trade, trading now stocks uh, has changed, and it is readily available. It is readily available for uh, for 24/7, really. So that's here. Let's see the shift, the push for de-dollarization. Everything used to be compared to the dollar, and other people's currencies, other countries' currencies were valued as how they stood up against the dollar. Well, that is changing. That is changing because of BRICS and because of an international economy. And one of the biggest shifts is BRICS is driving is to push for de-dollarization. And what that means for decades, the US dollar has been the dominant global currency used in international trade, oil transactions, and as the primary reserve currency for central banks worldwide. Well, BRICS nations are now working to reduce their reliance on the dollar. Well, if they reduce their reliance on the dollar, that changes some things in our economy and changes some things in our finances and our businesses. So, what's happening? Well, China and Russia are conducting trade in their own currencies, bypassing the dollar entirely. Brazil and China recently signed agreements to settle trade in their local currencies. Discussions with BRICS have included the potential for new currency to rival the dollar. Let me tell you, our financial institutions, they're archaic. In the way that they do business, it is archaic. Do you know that I can FedEx money to Canada or FedEx money to Mexico faster than what I can transfer in a bank? Now, that's a little ridiculous. So, why does this de dollarization matter? Why does it matter? Well, it can have far reaching impacts. For the US, reduced reliance on the dollar could weaken its global value, potentially increasing inflation and interest rates. Whew, we don't want that. And for global markets, right, currency volatility could become more common as nations shift away from a single dominant currency. We're having big changes in our banking, big changes in financial institutions. You know, uh, those systems for transferring money are being upgraded. I mean, they are being utilized and upgraded using quantum computing and quantum computers and blockchain. And with that, you need to understand some of that and how that changes some things. So here's some practical takeaways. Diversify your portfolio to hedge against currency and fluctuations, right? Consider investments in assets like gold, commodities, or cryptocurrencies, which often act as a hedge during economic uncertainty. And there's always this thing going on with cryptocurrency, and its impact on regular currency, especially our currency here in the U.S. It is not backed by anything. It's paper money, paper money. It's not backed by gold. It's not backed by silver. Ooh, that's a little scary. So if you travel or do business internationally, be mindful of how currency changes might impact your plans, because while you're away overseas, what you have in your pocket might change. It might be less or it might be more, depending on what's going on in the economy and the comparison of the uh, foreign currency to the US currency. So here's another thing, right? Another shift. Creation of alternative financial institutions. Uh-oh. That's the second major shift. Yes, it's on the rise. Alternative financial institutions. BRICS nations are creating their own financial frameworks to reduce dependence on Western-led systems like the World Bank or the IMF. World Bank or the International Monetary Fund. So what's really happening? Well, the New Development Bank, NDB, often called BRICS Bank, was established to fund infrastructure projects in BRICS nations and other developing economies. So, this is already done. So it will affect and impact each and every one of us. These institutions aim to offer more favorable lending terms than Western alternatives, reducing financial pressure on developing nations. Mm. And why does this matter? Well, developing nations may gain more financial independence, potentially reducing the influence of Western economic policies. For investors, this creates opportunities in sectors like infrastructure, energy, and technology, particularly in BRICS countries. So there are opportunities here. You just have to seek them out, and you have to know what's going on internationally, because these opportunities can become very lucrative if invested wisely. So here's some practical takeaways. Look into funds or stocks that focus on infrastructure and development projects in BRICS nations. Ah, and if you're an entrepreneur or small business owner, consider how trade agreements or collaborations with BRICS nations might open up new markets. So there's opportunity. There's opportunity with change. And you have to be abreast and educated, because we don't know what we don't know. So here's another shift. Rise of regional currencies and trade agreements. Ooh, that's going to impact us for sure. And BRICS nations are increasingly seeking to bypass traditional financial systems and establish trade frameworks that benefit their member countries. Well, that means that somebody's not making money somewhere that used to make money somewhere by these trades. Uh-oh. I bet. I bet it's in the financial institution sector. Ooh. So what's really happening here is talks of shared BRICS currency have emerged as a potential alternative to the dollar for trade between member nations. We only know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. So even the things in the information presented in the media, how accurate is it, and are they really coming forth to share information as to how businesses are doing business in other countries? Are they already bypassing the dollar? I think they are. So regional trade agreements are being formed to streamline transactions and to reduce transaction costs across the currency conversions, right? So it's costing less money to make those transactions by these BRICS nations. So why does this matter? Well, a shared currency or expanded trade agreements, it could challenge the dominance of Western currencies like the dollar and the euro, lead to more multipolar economic system where power is distributed across multiple nations rather than concentrated in a few. And we see that changing. A lot of these developing countries are moving forward in their GDP. So here's a practical takeaway. Monitor developments in BRICS in the trade agreements, as they could signal new opportunities for investors and businesses. So you want to pay attention to that. Consider how currency shifts might impact commodity prices, particularly if you're investing in energy, agriculture, and metals tied to BRICS nations. And people are talking about investing in gold right now, in silver. And if you've looked in the past year, I think silver has gone up by $8. Gold has gone up, I think by $500 or more. So it's really interesting how these international agreements are affecting the commodities market. And when you're buying oil for your country and you're no longer having to compare to the US dollar, well, now you're using your own dollar. How does that affect us here in the US? And really, we know that we have enough oil here to supply all our needs that we haven't even tapped into. But that's a whole nother matter. So this is for you to find opportunities. So BRICS is reshaping the global economy in 3 significant ways: de-dollarization, reducing reliance on the US dollar and creating opportunities for alternative currencies; alternative financial institutions offering new frameworks that challenge Western-led systems. And we're seeing it in cryptocurrency, and there's governments that have agreements with different blockchain organizations. And regional currencies and trade agreements, expanding cooperation and reducing transaction costs between member nations. So these shifts aren't just headlines, they're signals of a changing world that will affect businesses, investors, and everyday consumers. By understanding these changes, you can position yourself to thrive in this new economic landscape. So if you want to align your financial strategy with God's principles and navigate these changes confidently, grab a copy of my book, God Wants Me to Be Rich, and dive into the changes and reshape your life and realign your financial purposes and financial goals to flow with ease. And until next time, take some time to learn more about BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Have a gracious and glorious day.